All right, good evening. I'm going to call to order the Perrysburg School Board of Education regular board meeting on September 16th, 2024. Mr. Drury, roll call, please.
Ms. Rowland Miller.
Here.
Ms. Larimer.
Here.
Ms. Minke. Dr. Reffert.
Here.
Mr. Bennington.
Here. We'll start with the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Nice to see a group of people here on this nice Monday evening. We're going to start with a safety briefing. Perrysburg Schools welcomes you to the Commodore Building, and we thank you for attending tonight's Board of Education meeting. We care about the safety of our students, staff, families, and guests. Please note that there are exits on both the east and west sides of the cafeteria. In case of an emergency, an AED is located just outside the cafeteria doors. You are located at 140 East Indiana Avenue. Thank you for joining us tonight and supporting Perrysburg Schools. Next, I would like a motion to adopt the proposed agenda.
So moved.
Ms. Larimer?
Second.
Dr. Reffert? Roll call.
Ms. Larimer.
Yes.
Dr. Reffert.
Yes.
Ms. Rowland Miller.
Yes.
Mr. Bennington.
Yes, the agenda is adopted. Takes us into our first, we don't have any public participation this evening, so we will move into Mr. Hosser. We've got quite a few, I'm sorry.
Oh, no, I just wanted to double check. So.
Oh.
No one signed up.
Yeah. So with that, Mr. Hosser, we've got some guests here tonight. We'll turn it over to you for the superintendent's reports.
Thank you. Very excited today to invite a group of students and their leader, Mrs. Christine Albright, up to the podium for a presentation. And so we'll ask them to step up to the podium now. But you might, as they're walking up, just a little bit of background. A number of years ago, a group of students came and in conversations with me said, we'd like to do something where we want to encourage, volunteering and going out and serving in the community. And so the group of students began to work on a proposal, and they shared it, and they said, we want to send the entire high school for a day out into the community to volunteer. So the first thought was, that's a great idea. The second thought is, I don't have a way to get 1,800 students places to go during the day. So we said, well, what can work? And they came up with, well, what about the senior class? And so that group of students worked on a plan. Mrs. Marchetto, my assistant, she worked very hard with the students, and so all those years ago began this program. And today it continues. We have a group of students that are excited to be part of this. They met over the summer, several early morning meetings in June and July to work on this. They reached out to folks, and everything is set to go, and they wanted to share with you a little bit about this event coming up and just make sure the board is aware and to talk about this event and what they have worked on and planned. So with that, we'll turn it over to the team as I set up here. Sorry.
And Ms. Albright, if you could make sure that microphone is on.
There we go. Okay. So, hello everyone. I am Mrs. Albright. I have been working with these amazing group of students for the past few months. So, I would like for them to be able to come up here and introduce themselves first before we get into our presentation, so you know who these students are and what they've been doing. So, we'll go ahead and get started.
My name is Brandon. I'm a senior this year, and I play the cello in the orchestra.
Hi, my name is Samantha Dutridge. I'm a junior this year, and I am in Perrysburg Band.
Hi, my name is Hannah Knoll, and I play the cello and orchestra.
Hi, my name is Claire Gherkin. I'm a senior, and I'm involved in cross country and swim.
Hi, my name is Ling, and I'm also a senior, and I volunteer at the Heights Center.
My name's Kate, and I'm a junior at Perrysburg High School. I'm involved in crew as well as Perrysburg Student Council.
My name's Lanai, and I'm a senior this year, and I'm involved in DECA and a lot of the volunteering clubs at our school.
My name is Armana, and I'm a senior this year, and I'm in volunteering clubs as well as a volunteer at the Red Cross.
Okay. So Jackets Giving Back, this is our 7th year. It's an important day where the seniors from Perrysburg High School spend an entire academic day volunteering throughout the Perrysburg surrounding communities. This gives the senior class an opportunity to experience what more there is to the community other than their own lives. And it also helps teens learn the value and importance of volunteering.
We chose the date of Friday, October 18th, 2024. We chose this date by collaborating with building administrators. It does not interfere with other school events. It is least disruptive to students and teachers, and this time of year has historically had good weather. The approximate schedule for the day: 8 a.m. to 8:30 a.m., check-in outside of the auditorium, 8:30 a.m. to 9 a.m., welcome and brief kickoff meeting, 9 a.m. to 9:30 a.m., pick up lunches and board buses. 10 a.m., students arrive at the volunteer site. 12:30 p.m., students will eat lunch at their site. 1 o'clock p.m., buses will arrive to transport students back to PHS. And once seniors arrive back at PHS, they will check in with Mrs. Albright. After checking in, they will be dismissed for the day.
And we want to talk about why service is important. Number one, you can give back to your community. One of the easiest and most thoughtful ways is service. And then number two is becoming influenced by promoting social growth. Your actions will promote goodwill, then others will follow, making a dependable neighborhood. And number three, saving resources. Service allowed these companies to save resources.
Just to add to that, service also helps promote self-growth and connections in the community. It plays a big role in building peace and sincerity with people with long-term benefits. It helps create connections and relationships, and also helps you be a good role model to others.
So a lot went into the planning of this event. In regards to transportation, the district will provide transportation for over 350 seniors to over 25 different locations within the Toledo area. Bus routes were specifically created as part of the field trip request, and they will be staffed with sub-bus drivers. We went to lunch plans. Students will have the option to either pack a lunch, or they will be provided a lunch by the school. Other considerations we took, past chaperones have included senior-only teachers, parents, guardians, school administrators, as well as military recruiters, and everybody participating in the event will be provided a free t-shirt by our sponsor, New North Window and Door.
So this took a lot of planning. We started in May, and we made sure to take time that this would be a successful event. Some planning included contacting organizations and asking them if they would participate in the event, which took a couple months. We did coordinating with all participating organizations and making sure to follow up with emails. We ordered the t-shirts and are distributing them to seniors soon. We are recruiting chaperones, like the bus drivers. We are advertising the event to community leaders and PHS seniors. We are getting 350 plus students registered and creating bus routes.
A special thanks to our sponsor, New North Window and Door. They have been sponsoring this event for 3 years now. Oh. And also, this is our t-shirt idea.
Oh, that's cute.
Cool.
So this year we have over 25 organizations participating, and some of these include the 577 Foundation, Fort Meigs Elementary, as well as all the other Perrysburg elementary schools, Hospice of Northwest Ohio, Metro Parks Toledo, Mobile Meals of Toledo, the Ronald McDonald House, Same Cafe in Toledo, Sunshine Communities, and the Toledo Humane Society. And this just gives a sample of the organizations we have so that students have a nice variety of what they can spend the day doing.
And with that, that's the conclusion of our presentation. Does anyone have any questions?
So I think I missed, what day is it again? What, the 18th?
October 18th.
October 18th.
Which we say that it is usually a very good weather day, so we understand the risk that we're putting out into the universe by claiming that. So, but knock on wood, we've been pretty fortunate, so.
Great, great.
Do you need any more chaperones?
Yes, we could definitely use any chaperones, so feel free to contact myself or Hannah, and we will make sure we get you on the list for chaperones.
Okay.
Or whoever.
What's been great with the students, because they have a hand in identifying what type of projects, where the students will go for the day, and you know, there's something for everybody. So if you're interested in the environment, there are opportunities with the parks and working outdoors, or you know, the clean rivers and streams, all those kinds of things. If you're interested in working with an older population, there's ample opportunities, or even younger populations, there's great opportunities there. So they've done a really nice job this year of getting a wide spectrum of things to do. And our students, as you can tell, are so busy with school activities that finding that moment or two to volunteer, to serve, is difficult. So this introduces them to the world and what's out there, and we hope that, and we've heard from others, that leads to developing a relationship with some agencies and wanting to go back when they get to college or when they get out into the workforce. So we're grateful for this, and thank you for all of your hard work. So appreciate it.
Yeah, thank you for everything you've put into it thus far. Thank you for your leadership amongst your peers in bringing them to do this. You know, it's my hope that on the 18th, you know, it's a good weather day for one, and even if it isn't, that you guys truly have a great time and take a moment when you're out there, whatever the job is, whatever you're doing, to know that these organizations you're working for are going to be so appreciative. So, you know, make sure you're not missing the impact and the value and how well you're representing this district, not just in Perrysburg, but throughout Northwest Ohio when you do that work. So on behalf of the board, thank you, and good luck and have fun.
Right, that's a lot of organization that you're doing, so those are great job skills to have, or skills to have in the future. 350 kids and routes, and yeah, I can imagine, so that's a large number. I don't think people understand that unless you've had to organize 350 kids to do something, so good work. It's exciting, especially when you see the, like Mr. Bennington said, the wide range. And as the mom of, I know one of my children did it, I think both did, but it seems so long ago, that it's available to everybody and their skill set. You know, so even my kiddo who had special needs was still able to go with his class, and they were able to volunteer, and he still loves to do it today. So thank you so much for doing that for everybody.
Well, thank you. I know they have lots of homework this evening. They were telling me that. I'm going to take them at their word, so I think they plan on slipping out, but they're more than welcome to stay. But thank you again.
Yes, thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks for coming.
So next, one of the things we always enjoy hearing about is the who are you and what do you do? So who is it tonight? Mr.
Sure.
Hassler?
So I'd like to introduce Mr. James Mapes, Executive Director of Operations, and he's got some guests that he'd like to introduce, and we are going to continue to taunt or tempt Mother Nature. So go ahead.
Well, good evening. Again, I am James Mapes, as Tom said. Tonight, I have Mike Holyfield and Jason Bloomer. Jason is our maintenance director here at Perrysburg Schools. Mike Holyfield is the lead grounds guy here at the district, so whenever you drive by and you see things going on, it's usually he and his staff that are doing that. Not only is he our grounds guy here also at Perrysburg School, but he's also our OPSI president, so he has a lot of hats that he wears in the district and works well with the district. So I will turn it over to Jason.
Thanks for having us. Some of the things that Mike's going to go over, and obviously it's already up on the board, you know, many of you go to one school a lot and see that one school, or, you know, a lot of times coming here to the Commodore and we look at the property sizes and stuff like that, but we really got to think of the 10 buildings that we have, all the fields that we have. We currently have, there's 4 positions for grounds that we have. We currently only have 3 of them filled. One of our grounds people left about a month and a half ago to take a job down in Nashville, Tennessee. So we wished him well, but left us a little shorthanded. So I'll turn it over to Mike, kind of go through some of the things that many of the people may not know. Mike?
Okay, good evening. Okay, we'll start off with the overview of responsibilities here. We basically mow approximately 80 acres of grass every week. Except for the last couple of weeks, been kind of dry. That consists of 10 buildings throughout the district. That also includes string trimming around all trees, buildings, edging sidewalks, and then blowing the sidewalks off and around the building after we're complete. We do all this with 3 72-inch mowers, which is only 6 feet, and 1 8.5-foot mower. So we're pretty much mowing almost 4 days a week with perfect weather to accomplish this. We also take care of all the flower beds and trees around the district. We care for all the athletic fields. We started that about 3 years ago. This includes mowing, lining. We line 2 soccer fields, 1 baseball, 1 softball, and 4 football fields during the season. We take care of all the maintenance on the mowers that we can, all the preventive maintenance, changing filters, oil changes, belts, etc. This is our favorite one. We make all the district deliveries around. Paper to save money, books, desks, chairs, tables, and then sometimes food when coolers go bad or the Gordon's order doesn't go through on time. So we do all that. We also take care of all the playgrounds as well to make them safe for the kids, always testing them for the depth of the mulch. We plow and salt all the district during inclement weather. We are starting to fertilize and spray district properties. And we also take care of all the irrigation on the athletic fields, which is 1 baseball, 1 softball field, and the football. This includes starting up the system and blowing it out at the end of the year. Special challenges and special considerations. Weather. We never know what the weather's going to do, so we lose 1 or 2 days. We're always behind. High winds, knocking trees down, and then snow and ice during the winter. Safety is a big concern we have, and sometimes it's very hard to mow when the teachers bring their kids out for an early recess or they have gym class at the football field every day. So trying to get the football field ready for Friday night is sometimes a big task. We also have last minute deliveries, change of events. We also have no subs to cover us. We're just us 4 and that's it. Okay, next slide. Our accomplishments. We are able to do most of everything in-house when it comes to anything. The number one thing, we try to save money and still provide the same aesthetics for the entire district. Provide well-maintained and great-looking grounds, and we also try to serve the district in a timely manner when it comes to deliveries or canceled events. We also, our number one task is always to provide safe playgrounds and grounds, like the grass areas for the students to play on is their number one concern. Did you know we care for more than 1,500 shrubs and trees in the district? That includes pruning them, sometimes removal of dead trees. Everything we do, we try to do that in-house. Total acreage of what we take care of, including parking lots, sidewalks, and grass, is pretty much close to 200 acres. for us 4 individuals. During the winter, we apply over 45 tons of salt so all the kids can get to school in a timely manner. And it roughly takes 50 man-hours to do this every single day. We plow almost 1.4 million square feet of parking lots each snowfall. And we have 8 trucks and 3 utility vehicles to remove the snow every time. And that's pretty much all I have.
I know that doesn't seem like, a little bit, right? I mean, for folks doing all of that, what strikes me, one is how much you do. Appreciate that and understand that focus you have on safety, which is really great. Safety of our students, and also, it occurs to me, my wife and I were out walking Fort Meigs a couple weekends ago, and it makes you realize, these schools aren't just for the benefit of our students, but it's for the benefit of the entire community. So the work you do, keeping everything looking great, keeping everything safe, benefits more than just, our students and our teachers, but the entire community. So thank you to you and your 4 staff for everything you do. That's a lot.
Thank you.
And 4 staff -1 right now, is that what I heard? Okay. I hope before snow comes, I hope that position might be filled, because the 50 hours divided by 3 is a lot different than 50 hours divided by 4.
The maintenance crew helps us out with snow, so that gives us, right now, 7.
Okay.
So we're still a little short.
That's still.
Maybe Randy can get in a truck once in a while.
Yeah, there you go. Get him out there.
We get a dynamite.
Well, we think.
Very good.
Yeah, we know how important it is. I know there's a focus on, all the things that go into, getting students, from their home into the buildings and then back out. And as Mr. Bennington said, what happens in and around the schools and getting them safely, and also our spectators. I know one of the things you talked about was athletic fields, but the number of athletic events and after-school events and making sure everything, on the outside of the building is not a barrier for people is significant. And it's not just, snow doesn't happen and weather doesn't happen between your working hours. So, coming back, and then if we have a Saturday event, having to come in on Saturday and making sure that we're taking care of it. You guys have always done a terrific job, and I'm always amazed. So thank you for all that you do and your team and you guys' leadership on that. So thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah. Thank you.
Keep that in mind.
Next up, your September superintendent's report.
Great, well, thank you. So we'll move quickly, but if you have any questions, feel free to stop, and I'm happy to do a deeper dive. So just on Friday, you might have saw the state report cards came out. So Perrysburg, again, was 5-star in its achievement and all the factors that go into it. First of all, the report cards are just a snapshot of what we do. They do not capture all the things that go into a Perrysburg education. So whether we're a 5-star district, which is the highest rating, or if we were a 2-star district, we would say the same thing. The activities that you heard the students today, the things that they're involved in outside the classroom, the volunteer program that they're spearheading, and all the things that go into giving our students this great experience that's not necessarily measured on the state report card. But what is measured, we certainly value that. We certainly work hard to do what we can to prepare our students. And it's not just achievement, but it's also that meeting that projection is based on your achievement. How much further do the students grow in a year? And that sometimes gets overlooked because socioeconomically our students do very well, but we're also expected to have them continue to do well based on the state's projections. So it is, we're very proud of our staff and what they're able to do. We're proud of our students for what they're able to do. Our administrators setting the tone and supporting our teachers, we're proud of what they do. So there's a great deal of what we do there each and every day. So it is a snapshot. It gives us pause to congratulate our folks. But also when we get the spreadsheets, Mr. Swartzmiller and Mr. Sarnes, I know will be doing a deeper dive once we get all of that information from the state and really getting into those areas. While we're saying, we want to pause to celebrate, but we also understand that we're the kind of district that wants to look in the mirror, look at the good, bad, and the ugly, and see what we can do better. And there are certainly things that we can do better. We want our students, all of our students, to have a 5-star experience in Perrysburg, and we know that's not always the case. And we want to continue to strive to make sure that that becomes the case. And so a lot of that data that we're pulling in, looking at where we are, the adjustments we've made over the summer, monitoring where we are moving forward, is important. So this certainly is good news, and we want to work hard to make sure we're doing what we can. So this is a big week in the district. We have a homecoming, and it also coincides with the homecoming event with the city of Perrysburg. We're bringing back the class of 1974 is celebrating their 50th class reunion. Also, the class of 62, we're celebrating Jim Leland, who was inducted into the Baseball Hall of Fame. And that's going to be a great event. So he'll be featured at the football game on Friday night. He'll be brought out at halftime. It was interesting, just by chance, we happened to find from 1961, his senior year in the fall, a game that was on one of those old reels that somebody gave to the district, and someone was looking through it and said, I think that was the game against Genoa that Jim Leland led a last-minute drive down the field as quarterback, scored the touchdown. They didn't have a place kicker, and the coach said, you need to kick the extra point for the win, which he did, of course.
Oh, wow.
So they're getting that ready, so I don't know how that'll work out, but that might be something probably you'll see on ESPN. It's pretty interesting. But anyway, we're very excited about this for our students, and also one of the tremendous things about being in the district is the whole district celebrates homecoming. So Randy and I were out at HPI, and they were in their first day of pajama day and getting the kids excited about Friday night and Saturday. So some of the events are posted here on the screen, so you can see. We've got homecoming court, king and queen will be crowned, but also Jim Leland being recognized, and then you can see on Saturday all the different things that are taking place with the parade, and then a ceremony that is right here at 12:30 and so on. So we're very excited to be a big part of that. So demonstrations are something you hear about STEM, that science, technology, engineering, and math. It's something that is very important to all of our buildings, and we have teachers that are designated to do just that. But here we had some that attendees to make a make or take activities geared towards children's in the early elementaries up to 6th grade. And so they'll be leading the conversations and demonstrations that we have here. So as I mentioned, HPI students are preparing their student council for Spirit Week, so signs are being distributed across the schools. Also, last week we had visits from of our students in high school, football team, cheer, getting out to their home elementary schools. And that is really a neat activity. So when you see students that are former students coming back, and the elementary students see them and they're big and they're in their football jerseys or cheerleading outfits, to think someday they will be that way. So it is a pretty cool thing. And as I mentioned, our homecoming court king and queens are being recognized. So we've had some donations
Just to add
here.
in there,
Yep.
Mr. Hostler, there were band too. I know my son
Yes.
was always excited to go back to his elementary school because the
Yes.
top left has the band.
Yes, thank you, yes.
Nice
missed
cloud,
that.
too.
Inside.
Band is, that's good, and so I know that we want to say thank you to some of our community partners and school supply donations that we've received. Abundant Life, a group here in Perrysburg, and also Perrysburg Township Fire Department doing some drives to bring supplies for students at the beginning of the school year. So we wanted to highlight a couple of things here that I know as we get into the conversation regarding the levy, the operational levy. A lot of talk about administrative costs, so we wanted to kind of highlight that for a moment. The state of Ohio, Department of Education, collects all the expenditures in categories of areas that we spend money. And they do that for all 609 school districts across the state, and they come up with an average of how much is spent each year to educate a student. And then they break it down by category. And so for administrators, fiscal year 23, which is the most current data that we have available from the department, our per pupil spending, what we spend to educate a student in Perrysburg, is over $1,000 less than the state average. That means the average school district is spending $1,000 more than Perrysburg. So when you get into the conversation about, is Perrysburg managing its money well, you want to go to data. And so one of the pieces of data that you go to is, well, what is the average you're spending? Certainly if you're spending a lot more, there's a question about, well, why are you spending above the state average? And districts that do that, will have to explain. Districts that are below certainly need to be able to communicate to their, residents as to the reasons why. When it comes to administration, that is an area that the Department of Education Workforce looks at. So for Perrysburg, the ratio, so how many administrators per students is one way to measure the number of administrators in a district. So Perrysburg is at 154 students per administrator, and the state average is 119 per student. So that's another data point. Another data point that the department looks at is how much do you spend on that administrator. So the one per 154 or the state average one per 119, and we're spending $172 per student below the average on administration costs. So that, again, times 5,800 students, that's a pretty good amount of money when you get into it. So we're grateful for our administrators and what they do. They're certainly very dedicated and work hard in supporting teachers in the classroom. But I think as people begin to make comments and statements, it's important to ask, well, based on what data? And we had somebody say, well, there's a lot of cars in the parking lot here. Well, if they come on Wednesday, we open up the building to local businesses for a business networking program. So it's hard to find parking here on those days, and there's activities that are continually going on through the day where we're bringing staff into the building for professional development versus sending them out and spending money. So that's something. The other thing that we did is we looked at, since 2020 to 2025, licensed positions. So these are positions, teachers, where you have to get a license from the state of Ohio, so our professional staff. And in that time, we have added 56 teaching positions, and in that includes speech therapists, counselors, occupational therapists, physical therapists. That is included in that category. So a total of 56. In that same time, we've added 3 administrators. And that is in student services and well-being. The high school added an assistant principal, and then the director of operations, or in the area of operations that you heard about just moments ago. So there were 59 positions that are what we consider to be those professional, positions added. And of those, 5% were administration, 95% were teachers. And to give it perspective, 41 teachers or staff members are at Woodland Elementary, and there's 1 principal there. And so to give it perspective, when you're adding staff, and especially in certain areas. So one thing I wanted to point out, new to the school district positions supporting students who are on IEPs or students that have other needs, there were 17 teachers that kind of fit those categories of those that were new to the district. And so one of the administrators added was in that area because that is a growing area of service and a population that we're serving. So it's important to highlight what data are you using when you're looking at these positions, when you're looking at, what we're doing now in terms of spending, but also in the last 5 years, what have we been doing? The state funding formula that we have sets aside dollar amounts. So they're saying, here are things that a percentage of what the state is sending to the district is broken up into different categories. And you have 5% for district leadership and accountability, and you have 60% direct classroom, 15% for instructional support. So in that formula, again, another indicator, in the last 5 years with the additional staff that we've added, it falls in line with what the state is saying where we should be in terms of what they're willing to fund or how they're willing to fund. Now the state gives us a pittance towards funding all of those positions. But again, it's another data point. Are we on track? When people say there's a lot of cars, well, that is a data point, but let's dig a little deeper. So I think it's important for us to continue to monitor that. A few years ago, there was a performance audit done by the Auditor of State. And in that, they highlight, among other things, recommendations. And for that time, it was recommendations to balance the budget in the event that the levy wouldn't pass. But they also, in this report, highlight noteworthy accomplishments. So when they come in with a team and pour through all of our information, it was an exhaustive, for those board members that were here, we had to give the Auditor of State staff a room, and they worked here and set up here for a long period of time. There were two areas that they highlighted. One of them was in strategic planning, where aligning budgetary resources with goals and objectives contained in the strategic plan. Capital improvement efforts, the district formalized its spending goals for permanent improvement and replacement intervals for roofs and windows. And I know there's been many presentations about the work that we do in operations. And also financial communication, which is important. So here's an outside agency that is coming in and doing a complete and exhaustive audit of the district. And these are two things that they said, when we do this work, these are noteworthy accomplishments that we found here in Perrysburg that we're not seeing in other places. And again, there was no recommendations for food service, special education, central office administration. Transportation was deemed to be efficient, and so again, with those recommendations. So we wanted to take a moment to kind of, pull back the curtain on that information, share some data, with the board with that. So we want to pause here for a moment because we want to remind folks that this is an operational levy, not a bond issue. I know as we engage voters, they are confused by some of this because I know there are signs going up saying vote no on the bond issue, and that is sending a signal to the community like, what are we missing? This is not a bond issue. This is an operational levy, and it is replacing a levy that is set to expire on December 31st. So the board spent several months wrestling with what do we do? And I think that's important because it does represent 17% of our operating budget. So how do incremental levies work? And this is a chart that helps us understand that. It raises the amount of funds that the district needs in the year that it needs it. So it goes up incrementally each year. But as the community grows and businesses grow during that time period, the amount that everyone has to pay to hit that specific dollar amount that increases incrementally, the amount that is projected during the election to what they're actually having to pay is less. So this chart kind of shows how that works, where in year one, so this was passed in November of 2019, in that far right column, you can see what the actual percentage was in the last year, this year, of that incremental levy it took 68% of what was projected to be collected because more people show up. So imagine that 10 people go out after this board meeting to celebrate this great board meeting. And they're across the street and they order pizza and there's 10 pizzas in there. It's $10 a pizza, so it's $100. That's what it's going to cost to have dinner after the board meeting. And then they get a text that 4 of their friends are coming to join them and they're going to share that pizza. So you already know the bill for that pizza is going to be $100. But instead of having 10 people pay for it, now 14 people are paying for it. That's the benefit of the incremental levy. So as the pizza's being cooked, there's more people coming to the table, but they're all pitching in to pay the bill. And that's why it operates the way that it does. Here is just another way to look at it in terms of the bars in the graph here that are black show what was projected at the time of the ballot issue, and then what it actually was, and you can see the differences there. So again, this incremental levy that is expiring went up $1.5 million a year during those 5 years, and this particular replacement levy that we're putting on is set to increase $2 million a year to keep up with the growth of students and the costs and all the things that we're doing. We're already spending $1,000 less per pupil than the average school district in Ohio. We're getting above average results. And we're going to continue to work hard to make sure that we're spending less than the state average and doing the things we can to tighten our belts to do that, because that is a great data point. So how much will it cost taxpayers? And the projected maximum cost, because they're basing it on what the valuations are today. And we know that how this works is more people and more businesses come to Perrysburg, it'll be less. But let's talk about what the maximum, and that is what the valuations are today, and they don't grow a single dollar between now and the next 8 years. So not another new home, not another new business. The value of all of your properties here in Perrysburg, flatline, they don't change at all. So in that case, it would increase $4.20 a month per $100,000 of appraised value for each of the following 6 years, and I'll talk about why 6 years on an 8-year levy. But at any rate, that gives you an idea. So if you wanted to calculate, if you're in a $3,000 home, then it's
$300,000?
Yeah, sorry, $300,000. That would be 3 times $4.20. So that's how that works. So this is an explanation of, how it works. This is another way to kind of break it down. So this is the years of the ballot issue. You see that the estimated increase on an appraised home value, so that's $100,000. If there is no growth, and it's $4.20. We just kind of talked about how that works. And you can see that each year, that would be an addition. The estimated monthly increase per 100,000, if it grows, just like the last levy grew over the last 5 years. And you can see and begin to quantify what that difference is, and then what that dollar amount would ultimately be. So, so as you go through this breaks down how that works and what those costs would be per 100,000. Why do we do it per 100,000? Because it makes it very easy for people to calculate based on, their home value. And we do it monthly because most people make their bills out monthly. So that's why we have it kind of set up this way. There is in 2025, they're retiring the bond issue for the high school. So what that means is it's kind of like paying off your mortgage. So we pay off the high school. So the first year, there's no change in taxes because the valuation has already moved, and we'll be able to collect that dollar amount that we need without changing anyone's taxes. The second year, when you look at this $5.39 a month retiring with projected $4.20 coming online, the net difference is less when you factor those two things in. So that's an important factor. And then you get into that increase. But again, by that time, it won't be $4.20 if the district and community continues to keep growing and adding value as it does. So we're retiring 1.85 mills from the high school. So we mentioned about the lower cost, higher performance, and that's something that we do. We know this board wrestled with for several months what is best for the students that we serve. And I know it's easy to get into the weeds, assess value versus appraise value, how many mills do we have, what is going to happen, all these kinds of things that go into this conversation. But one of the things I'm really proud of the board is focusing on that student experience. As we're talking about the millage and we're talking about all of those kinds of things that go into it, it is important to keep a focus on that student experience that's going through our district and what is best for the students that we serve. The students that you heard tonight, the activities that they're engaged in, the things that they're doing outside of school and in school with clubs and activities are all there that are giving students these well-rounded experiences. And what's at stake is if the levy is defeated and $13.5 million go away, those kind of experiences will forever change. The students' experiences they go through school will change. That's not a threat. It is a reality of what do you do with 17% of your budget that goes away. So that's important for us to kind of conceptualize. So there's a lot of voices out there talking about a lot of different things, but one of them that we have to keep a focus on is that student experience as they go through. So what's at stake is $13.5 million. It is, to give it perspective, and we're not saying that this would happen, but it would be the equivalent of losing or reducing our staff by 130 staff members. To put it in perspective, we have about 41 to 45 staff members at Woodland Elementary. So, where does that staff go? Where do those numbers come from to balance the books? And that is a sobering thought. But there's a reason to support this. And if you don't have children in the school, the National Board of Realtors recognizes that there is a direct correlation between your home value and the success of schools. We hear many people in Perrysburg talk about, well, my neighbor's house went up for sale, or the person across the street, they had 7 offers within so many days, and they accepted all of them, or all of them were above asking price, and that is something that we hear a common theme. And we have great streets. We have street lights that work at night. We have great police and fire and services. But we also recognize that the schools are something that is a difference maker. It is an economic engine to that home value because people want to be here for that. And most people, their homes are their number one investment vehicle. And we know when they sell, the investment they're making with this $4.20 a month investment, that will be paid back when it comes time to sell their home, because we're talking about tens of thousands of dollars in home value. If the school district is in a mode where they are reducing and the kinds of things that you heard from the students earlier today go away, homeowners are going to look elsewhere. They're going to look in Ottawa Hills that just passed the levy. They're going to look in Sylvania and White House and other places. And that will have, you won't have those offers coming in like that. So this is a community discussion. It's not just schools, it's not just kids, it's not just families. But it is, the community having an opportunity to have a voice and saying, this is what we want, for our schools, for our community, for my home in the future. So I went quickly, but if there's questions that you have, I'm happy to answer them at this time.
Thank you, Mr. Osler. Any questions or points of discussion from other board members?
I have so many things running through my head, it'll come out as a word vomit. I'm not really exactly sure how to voice what's on my heart. I know that in making this decision to choose option D, because I still refer to them as A1, B, C, and D, That was gut-wrenching. It was very difficult to do. And I have been getting some emails, one that you got, that I forwarded to you today. It makes me think about a question that this person posed to me. In their request demanding my resignation, they felt that I was ignoring our community and the financial straits that we're in. And I totally hear that, because I'm changing my budget as well, due to many factors. But I'm a teacher. So I see these kids going to school, I pass by our school buses, I'm on operations, I'm on pupil services, and I see the effects of what our community does to support these young people becoming community members themselves. And I'm struck by those who are saying that I'm here to represent our community. Yet at the same time, on the other hand, I'm being told that I have to represent our students and serve them. And at one point in time, I felt that the two conflicted. And it wasn't until something in this presentation made me realize, no, they're not conflicting. They are serving both. When we service our students and these schools, I feel we are serving our community. And it was something that Jarman brought up several times, and I don't think I really understood the validity of what he was saying. When Tom explains that, and we've all seen it, that homes around us go up for sale or are sold before they're even officially up for sale. That doesn't happen in a struggling school district. It just doesn't happen. But when you've got a solid, well-supported, well-loved school district, and one that operates as efficiently as what you and James and Randy have continually shown that we run either under the average or within our means, or that we're always reinventing the wheel so that we can get more bang for our buck. It shows how much this district does for our community to make our community strong. So where I was kind of wondering, am I trying to choose which hat I'm supposed to wear, community or schools? I finally understand that strong schools equals a strong community. And while some of us may say, yeah, please, go to Sylvania, shall we send more to Anthony Wayne? Drive through Anthony Wayne and be surprised. Because I was in Sylvania over the weekend, and I couldn't believe all the building going on there. It's like, if there's a level layer of dirt that's opened up, there's something going in there. Streets waiting for homes to go up. Timberstone is surrounded by new development. And I thought, oh my gosh. But that's a strong community. They love their kids, they love their students, and that's where people want to go. And I think that that's such a testament and a testimony to our families and our community that comes here because of what y'all do for our community. So I am just eternally grateful for what this school district does for our community. Homecoming this weekend is going to be a great example of it. All the celebrations from the city and the schools coming together for our community to enjoy. I still remember that comment that you made at an opening day, the bigger we get, the smaller we must be. We have to keep looking to be small and pay attention to the individual things, and this is a great way to do it. All the things that we're doing for Jim this weekend, and looking at this last picture that you showed from the National Board of Realtors, all those little faces, young and old, and how they're going to become part of our community. I don't know if you know this, how many of our teachers are actually born, bred, and raised here that came back? There's quite a few. There's quite a few. And I think that's such a cool statistic, that they love being here so much that they go out into the world, yet they come back because this is home. Not to advertise 13 ABC News, but this is home. And I just think that's a really, really cool thing. So I no longer see this option D. Yes, it's an ask, but it's a responsible ask to let us do what we do so well. And it shows for our community. And it gives everybody a mental rest. I was criticized that you can't budget for 8 years. Well, the state thinks that we can budget for 5, so what's another 3? We need to do that in order to provide for the growth that we are facing. And as Chris Vogel has pointed out, there's no getting around it, which is a question I might ask during our discussion. I went on a rant. I apologize, but I just thought it was really how many years have I been on the board and I'm finally figuring this out? It takes a while, but I am really proud of this school district. And this weekend I was in Washington, D.C., representing the Ohio School Board Association, representing us to our legislators, and talking to other school districts all across our state. And Lori knows my partner in crime there was Chris Varwig from TPS. And here we had, our districts are different, yet we're the same. It was a fascinating education talking to these people from all over our state. I got to talk to the Wyoming delegation. I got to talk to the Tennessee delegation. It was amazing, yet I wouldn't want to be anywhere else than here. Really wouldn't. They all looked at us and said, wow, what are you doing? So I kind of felt like a celebrity. Everybody was coming over and saying, you're from Perrysburg? And I said, yeah. So it's neat. No, we don't want to be less excellent. That was another suggestion. Can we be a little less excellent? I said, no. Because that's a jacket way. We do what we do, and we do it well, and God bless you all for doing what you do. Thank you very much. All right, rant over, sorry.
Thank you, Ms. Larimer. Other board members, questions or comments?
I appreciate that, Sue. That was a lot, but it all.
Sorry.
No, it was good. It brought it together, and you've been on the board, and you've seen it happen. As a relative newbie, but I've lived in the district for 21 years, and I'm in education for 29. While you're talking, I was pulling up just some real estate reports, and right now, shocking, the market analysis that Perrysburg homes are on the market for 6 days before they go pending. 6 days.
6 days.
6 days. It's a seller's market. They're selling for, 50.70% of the sales are over the list price. But what shocks me is the 6 median days to pending, and it's a seller's market. And you tie that in with the real estate and what happens, with the school district. And we got that report card, and, and I go in and I like to look across the state, and see it's a great value. And I don't think people understand the less than annual pupil personnel cost for a district our size. And the amount of administrators, the lesser amount of administrators that we have per student. And it's just, I just wish people would take the time to actually research themselves. Social media is not
Research source.
your research database. This is coming from a licensed English teacher. If you don't know where else to go, don't go to our website. All the information is there, all of these reports. If you don't know where to go, come ask one of us. But at least take the time to do your own research. That's all I ask. Don't go by, he said, she said, this is what I heard. You know, everybody's entitled to their own opinion, but they're not entitled to their own facts. And I think that's what upsets me the most, is when I hear people say, well, you didn't do this. This is not an easy job, and making sure that our students get the same kind, our future students get the same kind of education that previous students had. They're entitled to that. And we work hard to do it for the least amount of money possible.
Thank you, Dr. Rufford.
Randy's such a taskmaster.
I mean, I think for me, I'm going to build off what you said, Dr. Rufford, that it's been disappointing to kind of read some of the things or hear people come and you hear these things that you don't know if it's on purpose or if people just haven't taken the time to ask. But the administrator one, I think, is the most glaring, but there are certainly a lot of other pieces out there about the cost of this and why we decided. I really appreciated, Mr. Hostler, that you put into the presentation about the strategic planning, and again, that there's a strategic plan that will be coming soon, and many of the initiatives in that are what helps develop students for their future, and that is our job. That I think often we hear this, we should cut everything except teachers or something. Well, one is that there's a lot of different kinds of teachers, but there's also resources that we do offer students to help them plan for their future that aren't classroom instruction, and that's part of the strategic plan. Every child to really develop well needs activities and mentors and relationships outside of the classroom. So all the activities, all the supplementals, they aren't extra. That is how we're helping to develop students for their future, to build those relationships. We want to increase, part of the strategic plan is to increase those opportunities for students, because we know that we're not keeping up with growth with some of the number of activities. And so to have those and to have students have the opportunity to develop through those is really important and is part of the planning that this levy helps fund. I think the other thing that's really interesting to me is the question about the 8 years. Again, if we had said 3 years and then asked for 3 years, if we'd asked for 5 years, we're always going to be in trouble for either asking again too soon, or I guess in this case we're not asking soon enough. But we know that the additional $2 million every year does not cover projected increasing costs. That there are other ways that the levy that our funding continues to increase. We're trusting that the state funds us the way that they've promised, but this $2 million is an extra. We're not padding our budget over the next 8 years. So I think that's another one that I hear that I think this addresses really well. Last week I was at one of the presentations that Mr. Hostler did, and one of the people toward the end noted that she supports the levy because it's just a smart investment into her home. And I was thinking, we had just had a diseased tree removed and a tree that was hit by lightning removed, which made me cry a little bit because I love trees. But we had just removed 2 trees, and I can tell you that the cost of just removing 2 trees for the maintenance of the property value was a small percentage of what we will pay over the next 8 years and combined. So for me, the comment about this is investing for our futures, and I know, my husband and I don't plan to sell next month. But we know that this is important for our community, and I don't do it just for me, I do it for the person who is going to sell their house next month, and I do it for the kids who live next door, because I don't have kids anymore, and that's what a community does. So I think I really appreciated that comment last week at the presentation. So I appreciate the presentation. There's a lot of really good new information that I feel more equipped to respond to some of the pieces of information that are out there. So thank you.
Thank you. Ms. Rowland Miller. I guess we'll keep going down the line. Ms. Menke?
I think the information. I think the information speaks for itself. We're a growing district. We are always going to need money. We just have to keep our eye on what that is in the future and how we're spending it.
Thank you. Well, very good comments. I mean, I don't have all that much more to add either. When I hear about how are we representing the community members, I mean, very good thoughts there. My perspective of that is you run for a board in support of public education, you commit to giving this district, and more importantly, it's students, what it needs. You get on you win that election, you come in, you make data-driven decisions, you listen to what we're hearing financially will help support the growth that this community is going to move towards, that growth being fueled and being understood through discussions with the city, making sure that they understand the impact. They do. They make a decision to go in that direction, okay. So based off of that, we turn around and say, this is what the district's going to need to support that, hand in hand as community members. And then it'd almost be it would be irresponsible as board members to then ignore what you think is best for the overall community, or at the very least not put that decision in the hands of community members. And that's why, again, I am proud to sit with you board members, where we wrestled with the A, B, C, D options. I can't remember all of them probably as well as Ms. Lammer can. But to come back and say, well, we fulfilled our obligation here to listen to the needs of the district, make a data-driven decision, and then do the thing to put that now in the hands of the voter, rather than saying, we're not going to do anything, because that equally doesn't represent a certain aspect of the community. Not doing it doesn't listen to another side of the community. So, I guess that was a little bit of my reaction to what you said there, Ms. Larimer, about what is our responsibility towards the community. It's a wide community with a wide variety of views, and it's more than just these 5 members driving hard a decision like that without the full voice of the community members. Ms. Rosso, I appreciate you clarifying, a simple clarification probably for board members here. Maybe levy fatigue. This board has had to have a lot of discussions about a lot of different levies over the last 12 months. A lot of the reason why I like the 8-year plan takes a lot of that confusion off the table. That sets the funding again for many, many years. But it is important to know, because I believe I've read some in letters to the editor that are saying, well, this board hasn't done anything different over the last 2 levy asks. And these are very different. This levy is very different from what was asked in November and very different from what was asked back in March. Yep. Those were for schools. This is for operations. Those were for $140 and $80 million respectively. This is for $4.20 a month. I mean, very different asks, structured very differently. So, again, thank you for clarifying that. I think that is, this is one ballot issue. This is an operating levy. I'm not going to go into the math again. I think you've done a very good job of that. I said I didn't have too much to add, so I will try and wrap this up. I think and just close it with a congratulations to the administration, the teachers, and the students with the, again, outstanding state report card. That continues to defy gravity, and I know we'll look into more of the data. I've looked at a little bit of it, but the forward progress in that, you almost expect at some point, still being excellent, but kind of falling backwards on some of the metrics, still being excellent. That's always been the risk, the thing that you worry about. This district continues to move forward, and I think that that's outstanding and is a credit to a lot of hard work for everybody involved in this, from again, the people sitting at this table, people sitting in the back table there, the people that are going to show up in the buildings, the grounds crew that we heard from earlier today. That's a big effort, and again, congratulations on that. It was nice to hear you celebrate it for a little bit, Mr. Hosser, because I know you're never satisfied, but I do think in my time on this board, that may have been the most positive comments you said about it, so you're allowed to spike the ball every once in a while.
I'm going to, just on top of that, and Mr. Hostler knows we like to compare analogies every once in a while. I still am looking for the analogy, though, that represents the fact that more friends came for the pizza, but your experience of the pizza, you still get the same number of slices, and you still get the 5-star. And so the pizza analogy just still doesn't work because you don't get less. You're going to pay less, and you're going to get the same amount. You're going to get an amazing education for the future citizens of our community. Yeah, I had like a whole suite at a concert. Anyway, if we can come up with a better analogy, because the pizza doesn't get smaller, we still get as much pizza.
It's a little bit of criticism.
No,
to get a better analogy.
No, we banter our analogies.
It's a food thing, because I can understand food.
Yeah, I'm hungry, so
That's why
we got to
it
get
made
the
me
show on
hungry,
the
too.
road.
The downside of doing this during dinner time. All right, very good. If there are no other comments, Ms. Hosser, thank you for the superintendent's report. Thanks for bringing in the crew for Jackets Giving Back, as well as bringing in the grounds crew to hear what their work is. We're going to move on to item 5, the treasurer's report. Mr. Drew has been sitting down there silently. You are now up, sir.
All right. That was a mistake. Give me the microphone. I can tell you that right now. No, not really, but great discussion. I'll say something that Ms. Larimer mentioned. Before I became a school treasurer, I spent 9-10 years on a school board. And I can tell you, wrestling with that, we had a very good board, tough situations when we took over, but in the end, you look at all the constituencies, the community, the students, the staff, and we figured out, fortunately, pretty quickly, if we focus on doing what's best for the students, it takes care of the rest of it. And because in the end, it's that ripple effect. Who's your ultimate customer? And it's the students, and that was kind of always our motto. So anyway, tough act to follow that conversation, so we get the drudgery of the financial stuff, the most exciting part of the evening. And you're welcome. There's not too much to go through tonight, but let me hit through things. So here's our cash balance at the end of August. All our tax collections were caught up. We're at our high cash mark as we expected. And I want to point out this is expected, and with a looming levy, this is where we wanted to be at this point. And even as Ms. Roland Miller pointed out, the levy gets us out to 2032, but the point is that we only get there because of the combination of levy and our current cash balance. It's the combination of the two that allows us to get there and to be able to ask what we ask. So it's not independent. So where are we on general fund? Okay. We are at 199 true cash days, which is our high point, obviously. I wish we could be there all the time, but that's the nature of our beast. We run on a fairly thin cash balance at times. We are up right now 11.8% on revenue year over year, and expenses are up on 15.8. And I'll get on the expense side because that's hopefully you've got questions popping on your mind at this point. Let's start with the revenue side. So we have our real estate collections are in, this is the second half of the calendar year, but our first half of our fiscal year. And the collections are completely in. And just a reminder, this is the last collection of the incremental levy. And of course, we're still seeing the impact of the reappraisal. The second line, this is one that should go, okay, what is going on here? You see a 20% reduction in public utilities personal property year over year. And I expected our PUP to go down each year as, with depreciation, but not 20%. I expected, $30,000 or $40,000, and why is it almost $300,000? Matt Astre and I looked through it, and it's very simple. Columbia Gas was late with their payment. They're not delinquent, they paid it. It's just that we have not received it yet and won't receive it until the first half of next calendar year.
So 3 more months. So I don't need to make my utility payment for 3 more months?
I thought about that. Our utility bills are high enough, maybe I can,
Let me, if you have a moment, let me
Yeah.
know.
We get a credit.
the next line is, okay, this one, and Mr. Hostler's already kind of, back up here. He's already talked about this indirectly, but you'll notice that on our unrestricted state aid is up 2.7% year over year. I want to be cautious with you. I don't expect that to stay there because we're still being funded at last year's rate. They don't recalculate the funding formula until October, at which point I expect our funding to drop because our wealth went up significantly. Our enrollment's up, but it's not going to be enough to overcome the increase in our property values and our income.
Mr. Dreer,
Yeah.
when you say wealth, maybe define what that is.
So the wealth formula is 60% district valuation plus a combination of federal gross income and state income divided by the number of students. So our number of students has gone up, but the numerator has gone up higher, faster, right, appraisal, and so we expect the funding per student to drop, and that was, it's expected, right? It was just, it's not, and that's the problem with the biennium budget, and the formula to begin with is, until they update, our costs go up year to year, but the costs in the formula aren't increased year to year. That's the single most important part of that formula, is increase the costs, because they're going up for everyone, and hopefully, in the spring, when we battle for the full implementation of full funding, the fair funding formula, that'll be a topic of conversation. And that'll be a really important conversation as I work on my forecasts. So in unrestricted state aid, you see a huge increase year to year. Most of that is due to an additional threshold cost payment. That is, we got an unexpected payment from fiscal year 23 for special education costs. And so that was nice. Again, anytime you get reimbursements, now it's always a year behind, but see how beggars. And the last area on the revenue is, you'll see all the revenue is down, and that's just the all-day kindergarten tuition not being collected. And as I want to point out, we expect that to be break even or very close. This is complicated because our state aid per student's dropping, but our enrollment will go up because all our kindergartners will be counted. So we're going to lose some revenue on that line. We're going to gain some revenue that we wouldn't have had on the unrestricted state aid. So it's going to show up in 2 different places, and on the state aid side, it's going to be buried by the fact that we have our reimbursement per student is going down. Okay, let's, on the cost side, salaries and benefits are on trend. It's right where we'd expect to be at this point of the year. Nothing too exciting there. The areas of really discussion on purchase service and supplies, as we talked about last month, both these items are trending well above where they were last year. Now, part of that was, some early curriculum spend because of the science of reading curriculum and all that. I expected supplies to slow down, but obviously the trends like that are concerning. But I just want to remind the board, we have their budget set. So if a building spends all their instructional funds in September, they're done, right? I mean, certainly, if they need something, we'll look for somewhere else, but, it's going to be rob Peter to pay Paul. So while the trend is up, I'm not overly concerned because we do have the guardrails in place. You just can't spend and keep spending. You write purchase orders, and it'll reject it because you'll have negative budget. It won't let you write a purchase order.
Well, and as we discussed in finance, you look at this on a continuum basis too. So did such a great job the buildings did on keeping supplies costs in check last year. I mean, eventually, you're going to feel that eventually something needs to be purchased. So I think we're feeling a little bit of the impact of that as well.
I think so too. But, and main thing is keep an eye on it. I mean, obviously, it's like balancing the budget. The supply line is not going to do it, right? Mm-hmm. But it's an indicator of our care for our resources. But something we don't have, purchase service is a little bit different. We spent a little bit more on some building maintenance this year than we had anticipated, and of course, special education, that is completely student-driven. And we can't say no for a student need just because we don't have it budgeted. But when those happen, we try to look where we're not spending it somewhere else to move it over. But it's a balancing act. So just again, we had a delay in our PUP payment. We'll be okay there. Our income tax collection was up, and state share we'll recalculate in October. They'll go back and get all the student counts and all that, and then and we'll continue to watch our other spending. The last thing I want to hit on real quick, and this is just so exciting, it's, as it is every time this year, it's audit time. We have, the group comes in and compiles our financial statements, and without getting too technical, they got to take what we do and put it into a gap. So, then once they're done, the auditors take over, and they audit our financial statements. But a big portion of the audits now are non-financial. So things like college credit plus compliance, they will audit the high school, the guidance office of the high school to make sure they're in compliance. A big one this year, the auditor of state has put out new fraud training, and that every person we pay in the district has to go through it, including board members, right? And literally what the auditors will do is say, give me a list of everyone you paid, and they'll pick 10, 20, whatever names they want to choose, and show me proof that they went through the fraud training. And depending on the auditor, that could, one person not doing the training, it shouldn't happen, could kill a clean audit. And then the big one for me, and we have these things, and we're going to have to take some steps to really get some more formal action, but our strategic plans and our spending plans got to be linked and board approved. We've got the 5-year forecast, that's going to happen, we got to make sure that's linked to the strategic plan. Our capital spending plan, our permanent improvement funds on the tech side and on the other side, they've all got to be linked to the strategic plan and the board's blessing on those. So we got to work through there's no format how to do that. We just have to be able to demonstrate that they're linked together, and that's on our plates here in the next month or two.
And you said not a matter of that they're not linked, this is a documentation standard.
It's a documentation standard, right. Yeah, and what's driving it is, it's a little bit onerous, but what's driving it are some districts who are very much in difficulty right now because of maybe some poor communications with the board, and the board not knowing really what was going on financially in the district. That's one of it. And the second part of that is there are some county auditors who are really pushing to cut taxes for schools, and one of the ways they're doing it says, if the board hasn't approved its capital plan, you really don't need the money. Right? So those kinds of things are driving it. And part of it's political, to be really upfront about it, and part of it is just trying to get better governance in some places that have had some failings. And so things we're just going to have to do, and then the right things to do to link. We just got to figure out how to do it that makes sense for the 5 of you to be able to give your blessing, understand what's going on. We have these things, we just got to make sure that we've linked them for you. So that's all I have.
Thank you, Mr. Drewer. Any questions? Okay, we're going to move into item 5.2, which is I'm looking for a motion to approve the August 2024 financial presentation that Mr. Drury just went over.
So move.
Second?
Ms. Menke, Ms. Larimer? Roll call.
Ms. Menke,
Yes.
Ms. Larimer,
Yes.
Dr. Reffert,
Yes.
Ms. Rowland Miller,
Yes.
Mr. Bennington.
Yes, the August 2024 financial presentation is approved. We're at the hour-and-a-half mark. I think I'll pause real quick. Do we need to take a 5-minute break, or are we good to continue on?
No, we can.
We'll keep going, okay. Did a minute, all right. That was a not for a break or a not to keep going?
Keep going.
Okay, we're going to keep going, very good. That takes us to item 6, board committees and discussions. And we will start with the operations committee. Ms. Menke or Ms. Larimer?
I wanted to hit on a couple of things. One is, and this is an issue every year at the beginning of the year, with transportation in non-public schools. I just want the rest of the board to know that by doing in lieu of payment, we save over $500,000 in non-public busing costs. That's a huge amount. When we pay that amount for in lieu of transportation, it costs us under $100,000. So you can see why we do in lieu of payment. We have 32 schools that is that about right? 32 that we could have a possibility to send kids to.
72 private and charter schools in our 30-minute radius, and we bus to 19 non-pubs.
Yes. So I know parents get upset about this, but financially for our district, this is impossible right now, especially when we're asking for money for a levy.
Well, it's like logistically, when you hear, did I hear 72? I mean, the potential to have to bus to 72.
Yeah.
Under legislation, it was designed when really the only thing out there was maybe 1 or 2 parochial schools, and now we're
Yeah.
72. Okay.
And you compound that with the ongoing, and this is for well over a decade now, issues with finding enough drivers for your buses. And on top of that, one of the ones that we were talking about during operations, which compounding the whole driver issue, is these districts that are having their transportation directors walk out because of this, all dealing with the in lieu of and having to go to court with the state for it, which, that's additional money and time for us too, when that happens. So, and then we did talk about what Randy was talking about in terms of the strategic plan and tying that to the budget, and some of the things that would look like then for operations, because that will definitely take some time on figuring that out.
Well, we definitely have some rock star administrators, and one of them, well, several of them are in operations. Courtney Parr, our transportation director, was actually asked to help 3 districts get started with their schools this year because they were so underwater. And who did they go to? They went to our Courtney. And I said, sure, go ahead, ask her, but you can't have her. She's ours. You can't have her. We're not letting her go. The same with Denise Zilski, who is our food service operations manager now, and she is also a rock star. She just doesn't know, the word stop. She's added a new 5th line to the high school, which is going to be a superfoods type line, if I have my notes correct. It's hard to keep up with her when she's doing her things. Our high school lunches are up over 2,000 compared to last year. So what I've learned in talking to all these other districts is that we have an interesting problem with our food service. You get reimbursed for your free and reduced students, right? So you've got like TPS, who on the news if you heard, are now getting all of their lunches and breakfasts paid for. So you don't have to kind of worry about that money, it's there. But we have the opposite problem where we're now at around 14% free and reduced, which is a lot higher than when I started the board. There's many factors in that. But she has to figure out how to market these lunches to get the reimbursement. How do I entice the students to come and eat? And how do I manage to keep following all of the myriad of guidelines, rules, and regulations coming down from the federal in order to get students to come and buy my lunches? And she sent me some pictures today, which I'm supposed to send to our legislators. These are a lot of the things that she's got available to our students now looks a lot better than what you can buy at Panera. It's that kind of quality. She's got Baby Bop is coming. They're starting again at the turn of the year. Grape Leaves is asking to partner with us. Nana's Honey is being used in the superfoods line in the high school. I'm going to miss one of these. Maybe you've got it, Laura. Johnston Farms, Legacy Farms, and was it Farmer Jones?
Farmer Jones, which is the Chef's
Farmer
Garden.
Jones. These farmers are coming to her or she to them to provide fresh produce. So it's just incredible. And if that's not enough, Perrysburg Schools is going to be hosting the Student Nutrition Association, their leadership meeting, and that's going to be in March, and we're hosting it. And I was like, oh my gosh, that's really kind of cool that they're coming here. And then James, not to be outdone, because he's the grant man, he's always finding secret money places. They got the Marks grant, and they are doing radios and antennas for all the buildings. And that's through a grant, and that's going to start after January. So this committee they're just rocking it.
Good report. Thank you both.
Oh, it is a lot. This is just.
I had to Google what smart.
I can add one data point real quick. Food service year over year, in the first month, $11,000 more in claims this year. So, over last year. So that just tells you the number of meals that she is serving that's reimbursable year over year. So.
Wow.
And any food service that runs in the black for a school is a job well done.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Particularly one that has as many cafeterias. The ones who tend to be in the black tend to be community program where all free and reduced, and they typically have one or two campuses for all their students because they only have one or two cafeterias that way because the staff is so much more efficient. So the fact is, we're 14% free and reduced is not very much, relatively speaking, in all these buildings. So incredible.
She's doing a great job.
Very good. We already heard from the Finance Committee. I don't know that there's much more to add there. We did also hear about, some of the continued work that is going on within the Finance Department on process improvements and holding a line with ever-increasing volume of transactions. So, they continue to mind the shop and be the front line on all these financial numbers that Randy presents. T&L Curriculum Committee, Ms. Roland Miller.
Again, there's two attachments if you want to review. Like always, teaching and learning, Mr. Schwartzmiller and Mr. Sarnes gave us a lot of information. One of the things that we highlighted was the shifting roles for Julia Lark, who last year was half-time teaching and half-time in training, and this year there's some job description information in there. We'll be doing more of the training and coaching work as we continue to move to improve our ELA work and adopt science of reading approaches, and then all the work that Nikki Muskinski is doing as well. So I just want to highlight this. I'm going to channel Dr. Refford for a second and just point out when people talk about administrators. So here are two people that are counting as administrators in our district who are helping and supporting our teachers to implement a state mandate. So our teachers were trained and they got a stipend that was covered by the state. The district had to buy the curriculum, that less than half of the cost of it was covered by the state. And now there is continual training. We want to make sure that our teachers and educators feel that they're being supported in this pretty significant change that's happening in their classroom, and we're really grateful for everyone going through the training and working on the compliance of that. And so these are two incredibly gifted women that are going to be able to offer training inside now instead of us going outside to pay, so it's much more efficient and financially effective. And so look at those two, and we thank them for their work. There's things in there about trying to continue to improve our process on OTES and aligning, making sure that our OTES review process, the evaluation process within the buildings for our educators is consistent. And so just like the curricular reviews, which it's interesting when I talk to educators outside of our district and talk about this kind of overall look at our curriculum and making sure that there's kind of a seamless move through our curriculum in our district. They always are just amazed because no other district I've talked to is doing that. So they're kind of things that are happening. There's information there about our Title I funds based on the low-income students. It's 13.19, which I think we've been talking about 14, but we do have 3 schools this year that in particular will be Title I schools, and that helps provide funding for staff members who are reaching and working with those students. And as I kind of said that I would at the work session, I just want to highlight, we talk about rock stars. Both at our T&L meeting and then at our work session, we kept hearing about the incredible work and support that Nancy Stow provides to the teaching and learning department, whether it's compliance, organization. You know, I'm planning my son's wedding, and as I was thinking about this, I was like, I just needed her, because this would probably be going a lot better by now. But she really seems to be a significant piece of glue in the teaching and learning department. I just wanted to give her a shout out.
So can I ask you to repeat something I thought I heard? Science of reading mandated state curriculum, so the state tells us we have to buy this. They only reimbursed us 50% of the cost for a state mandated
I think it was a little less, actually, 46%.
So they mandate us to change our curriculum, which was obviously working as a 5-star school, but they only reimburse us for half. Mr. Drew, you're on the spot, roughly, how much did the curriculum cost? Brent, anyone? I'm just curious, I'm gonna guess
What's no new number?
100,000.
500?
50,
I
I
thought.
thought.
About 500,000.
So $500,000 that the state mandates us to take out of our own budget and only gives us $250,000 back. Make that make sense.
Well, then in addition, as Ms. Rowland Miller alluded to, also soaks up administrator time. And as we were talking during Mr. Hosser's report, talking about the administrators, I couldn't recall exactly, but there are certainly other unfunded mandates, similar items, that are requiring additional administrators to help support. You know, at the end, OTES is one of them, yes, that came up, yeah. State testing.
I see the smoke coming out of her ears.
I do want to, I continue to say, I think there's a lot of excitement and appreciation for what the science of reading curriculum will bring to the district. So I think there's a lot of value in that. It's just that it wasn't our natural progression at the time that we were ready to replace curriculum that we were able to purchase it at that time. So I think the more and more I hear about what's happening and what our educators are experiencing and what our students then are going to be experiencing because of the science of reading curriculum, I'm really excited for them. I can't wait to kind of see it in action. But
We had a little taste of it. We saw a quick
weren't
little
planning
video of
on
it.
doing
We weren't
that
planning.
quite.
As a reading teacher, who took the pretest without being in the classroom for 27 years and still passed, I understand the science of reading, and it is exciting, but it's just so frustrating that another mandate, unfunded, that we have to, that just drops it in our lap.
I realize that a lot of our unfunded mandates come from the state, and that's not who I was talking to this past weekend, but I actually did get to talk and meet for the first time Representative Capter, and I suggested that as a bill for her, that since she's our legislator. If you're going to bring a mandate down on the schools, do not make it a law that you cannot make a mandate without it being funded. If it's going to cost a district money to implement your new rule, your new mandate, it must be funded from your end. And stop constantly burdening our taxpayers. You've already got the money. And so it'll be interesting to see what kind of, if anything, comes of that. Wouldn't that be nice? Yes.
That'd be nice.
Okay, thank you. Communications Committee. Ms. Larimer, Ms. Rowland Miller?
You take it. You want anything?
I mean, I don't have anything to add to the notes.
The notes?
Yeah.
Yeah.
We're going to be meeting with MADAV sometime to go over their proposal. Is that it?
Yeah, I think we've got a feedback from Matt Ave in terms of what they were wanting to do. We have money budgeted in communications to try to rework some of the messaging and things of that nature, getting back to the strategic plan. And so we're moving forward with that. So there should be some communication coming up, as they embark on this project.
Okay.
So,
And the community engagement is part of the strategic plan, and how do we do that in new ways that reach more people?
Okay, anything else related to committees that I may have missed?
Pupil Services is doing kind of a cool thing, and not Pupil Services, I'm sorry, Perrysburg School Foundation, and amongst all the other things that they're doing. Jeff came up with another brainiac idea of having the board meet with sectors of the district so that they can really get to know and to meet the people that they're serving. Yes, the foundation, yeah.
That's
Yeah,
the
I said
luncheon
Pupil Services originally, and that's because that's who they met with. That was their first group, was meeting with Pupil Services. So we met over at the Hack Center because we couldn't meet here because of all the construction going on, and it was interesting, since that's one of my committees, it was interesting to kind of be quiet and sit back and just watch all the jaws dropping around the table. But we had a good showing of the people who came, and we're just going to keep doing that. And Susan, did you go to the meeting for me?
Yeah, and I will say there was great feedback, a lot of appreciation for Mr. Foltz and Ms. Glesser's presentation. And I think, once again, I feel like I'm a broken record, but I'm just going to keep hitting it. A real appreciation of all this staff. Well, why do we have all this staff? Well, some of it's mandates, some of it is compliance and supervision, some of it is support. Again, one of the strategic plan initiatives is to support our staff. How do we better do that and keep more of our staff here happy? So a lot of great feedback from doing that, and just really appreciation, and they definitely want to continue to do that with other aspects of the district.
Awesome.
I will say also from the Schools Foundation, since we already started talking about it, is I will also highlight that there was Aaliyah Wolver, who lots of folks know from our district. She's a member of our district. Her kids have gone through the schools. She's now, she's Jeff Abke now for Maumee. They had created that position, back in order to raise funding for their stadium, and then decided that they didn't need community money anymore, and so dissolved that position. But they have realized the importance of the work that Jeff's doing. I heard an interview on the TV with the Anthony Wayne superintendent, and what they were trying to do and how they're looking to go and find new grants. I'm like, oh, we do that, and how they're looking at creating a foundation. So I was just really proud that we're kind of ahead at that, and
Yep, another trailblazing idea from our
Maumee
superintendent.
was over here to check us out and get good ideas, so, yeah.
Okay. All right, we're going to move into the consent agenda. Can I have a motion to accept the consent agenda, which is covering items 8 through 11 of the agenda?
So moved.
Ms. Rowland Miller?
Second?
Ms. Larimer? Any discussion?
I have a couple questions. On 11.3, do we get to the chance to bid that out at all? Or is that something that's open?
We occasionally bid it, we have not bid it out since we changed we did it when we went to Mutual Health Services, and their service has been so fabulous, and their proposals of 1% increase that we felt that the short answer is we're not bidding it out. Frankly, and Don can correct me if I'm wrong, we work with our consultant on this, and we just don't believe anyone is in their same league with network administrative costs. Fair? Correct. Fair.
Okay.
So the answer to your question is, this is 3 years, and should we look at an RFP? Probably, that would be a smart, just like we do with our banking, ever so often, just to make sure that we're on the right track, so.
I was impressed at how little they were raising the rate, just a couple of pennies here and there.
It's a 1%.
Yeah.
Yeah, and they do a great job for us. Of course, we're coming off a nightmare from our previous TPA that's taken us 3 years to escape. And so we're a little bit gun shy, to be frank.
Yeah, and this is the third TPA that we've had in probably, don't quote me on the years, 8 years, 6 years. So we've had changes there. So from a staff perspective, having a group that's working, saving us money, managing it well has been really helpful. So changing it is essentially changing insurance. So it's new doctors, it's new, and that, it's a big adjustment.
But we shouldn't take it for granted. I mean, I think Ms. Menke's right, and she's implying that we should, and I think in the next round, we just have to start that process early.
So for those of us that don't know what TPA means.
A third-party administrator. So think about this way. We're self-insured, so Perrysburg Schools is our own insurance company, but we're not equipped to manage the claims and to manage the network. So we hire a third-party administrator who has the network of doctors and hospitals and then the staff to process claims. They process the claims, they send us the bill, we pay the claims. So it's about as simple as I can put it. So they're the insurance company, they're the administrator, we're the funding of it.
Well, I think that's a great question, a great point to bring out, and yeah, a lot of, you don't RFP everything every year unless they get in your way. Strategically, you see significant cost raises, you're not seeing the administration, the level of services. Sounds like you took a look at all that, got through the gate and said, okay, but it is a valid point that.
It is, and we do every year go out through our stop-loss carrier. That we do bid out every year.
Right.
So
That's
for
such a
high
dynamic
claims,
market.
we do carry insurance, so when we hit a high claim, and we do bid that out, and that's really a significant chunk. In some ways, it's rising a lot faster than these costs because of the number of high claims that we have.
Ms. Menke, did you have something else?
I did. On 11.4, do we record student performance on any other platform, or is this our sole platform that we integrate?
So this is a platform that captures all the student data and houses it in one location. So teachers can access multiple data points through the Panorama. So that's part of the package that we get through that service.
Is this our sole platform, though, or do we have other
Yes,
platforms?
this is it.
Okay. And then, just to give the public an idea, I know that the Panorama, well, the components of Panorama, there's some things that are mandated by the state. There's new guidelines on that. what portion of that, again, going back to funded and unfunded mandates, what portion of that does the state fund us with? Which is, this is probably more of a Randy question.
None?
None.
Yeah.
It's embedded in the.
So again, this is a do this, but.
Well, I mean, it's, I think, and I'm not the curriculum guys, they're sitting back there, but it's a tool that we have to do our, to do our business, right? Joe and Brent disagree with me.
We had Performance Matters, which was the package that housed all this data. We had a teacher on special assignment that worked exclusively with that. We eliminated that position, and, the panorama suite of services and the package and the things they can do with that data, especially without having a person in that role, made a lot of sense for us to migrate all of our data to that platform. So it allows teams to coordinate. The other features that are helpful is it helps to track different types of interventions. So you're applying an intervention, you're able to see what you've done, you look at the results of it, so it's all in one place. As a teacher, that makes it a lot easier and convenient. So instead of having to find it yourself, which can be challenging, so.
Any other discussion on the consent?
I just had a question about the HPI, and now I don't know which one that was. Help me out here, Tom. Yeah, the addition on their handbook, 11.2, is that it?
Yep.
And for some reason, it's not enlarging on my iPad, so I am looking at it like a size 2 font here. But my notes said, the first paragraph, last line, cell phones should not be in the possession of a student used for specifically documented medical purposes with the school nurse.
What page
Shouldn't there
are you
be?
on?
Keep going down. I think it's page 8.
Okay.
It's under cell phones.
Okay.
And I'm wondering, isn't that supposed to say unless used for specifically documented medical purposes?
Okay, what paragraph?
Okay, first paragraph under cell phones.
Okay, got it.
Last sentence, actually the last line.
Unless used for, is that what you're saying?
Yeah. In case anybody who's watching, if you're wondering why we're being attacked by fruit flies up here, so I don't know what that says about us.
Only one.
We're extra sweet today, I don't know.
Thanks for pointing it out, because I thought I was the extra sweet one. I guess I'm not, so.
Is that what you're talking about?
Yeah, thank you.
I think that's a good catch. Cell phones should not be in the possession of a student
Unless used.
for,
There's,
Yeah.
okay, all right.
yeah.
Other than, thank you for making that readable for me. You're welcome. Because that's the best I could do. Yeah, that was really tiny.
Nice catch, Ms. Lammer. So,
Or you could say should only be in.
Because I remember Debbie talking about that, and I thought,
Yeah, there's some students monitor different health things throughout the day, and
Yeah,
they
they
carry
have
their
it
phones.
attached to
Yeah,
their
yeah,
phones
yeah,
for
yeah.
readouts.
So,
okay, all righty.
yeah,
That was the only thing I found.
we'll make that adjustment.
so with that adjustment, I am going to call on the student handbook, I'm going to call to the question. Roll call, please.
Ms. Roland Miller,
Yes.
Ms. Larimer,
Yes.
Ms. Minke,
Yes.
Dr. Reffert,
Yes.
Mr. Bennington.
Yes, consent agenda is accepted. Our final item for the night, board discussion. Any other new business from board members that has not been previously raised?
How about for a non-board member? Tom, I think we should probably remind, Friday, September 27th, this building will be closed. Power outage finish hooking up the electrical on new equipment. The central office staff will be working remotely or taking a day off. So there won't be anyone in this building. There'll still be available. Receptionists will still be able to answer the phone, and people will still be able to take the phone calls, just there won't be anyone here other than electricians at that point.
Yeah, and working remotely is like throughout the district, and there might be a few at home, but primarily we'll kind of relocate to the Huskisson Center on the second floor, so the receptionists will be set up there. Out in technology and operations will have, they have these rooms there that we'll send folks to. So, yeah, so we'll be very mobile that day. But we've had a couple of meetings to plan for that because, heaven forbid, there would be an event that would take place. It's essential that we know and how to reach everybody and track them down. So our phone system, you can unplug it, your phone at your desk, plug it in somewhere else in the system, and that's your extension. So receptionists, that's great news, and other staff that can do that. So Mr. Schaefer, technology director, is identifying areas where we can have multiple plugins for that sort of a thing. So so that's a little
Just
bit of a
just in
challenge.
case you came by and we weren't here.
Good to know, low chance of that, but okay.
You just never know.
So long as your staff all know. Good.
They all know, yes.
All right, thank you very much. There was no sign up for the second public participation section. So with that, I will say that we are adjourned. Thank you very much.